What's up, guys? Uh, yeah, I'm kind of, exhausted. Hey, welcome to the channel. It's Keyba, your favorite Guild Wars 2 guru, I guess. I'm gonna come at you today with the final episode of the Guild Wars 2 class tutorials or entry or whatever you want to call it. Is it worth it in 2012? So, is it worth it in 2021? But having said, it's not going to stop me. I'm actually really excited to get through this because I know that there are a lot of comments that I read constantly where people want me to do more of the fight tutorial stuff. So you will be seeing that probably starting next week in some fun other activities. I don't want to get into some of the stuff that I'm going to be attempting. It's going to be very daredevilish, and you'll see, and hopefully you'll all enjoy it. But if you want to be up to date with any of the new stuff that we will be going into the channel, go ahead, please click that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. And if you are subscribed, I appreciate it. How about giving this video a like and all the other videos a like, and leaving a comment down below. And let me know, today we're going to be talking about Mesmer once again. Let me know what your favorite Mesmer build is, or favorite Mesmer specialization is, down below in the comments. I really want to know if you like Chronomancer, if you like Mirage, or if you're just somebody who likes to play core Mesmer. And if you're new to the channel and new to Guild Wars 2, well, hopefully this will explain Mesmer in a way that will make it easy for you to understand, so you can make an educated choice on whether or not you want to play this class in Guild Wars 2. So guys, first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and just let you know right now, as somebody who's played Guild Wars 2 for quite some time, Mesmer was actually the second profession that I created on my account. I didn't really play it too much back in the day when I first started playing. As you guys know, I was a warrior main, true and tried. So the reason I made the Mesmer was in order to have a character in which I could get all of the crafting levels all the way up to make all the legendary weapons. However, as I started playing Guild Wars 2 a little bit more and kind of getting bored with just playing warrior for so long, I decided to dabble into the Mesmer. And one thing that I can already tell from just the beginning is the amount of focus that you will need in order to play this class. If you are coming into Guild Wars 2, I definitely recommend you try Mesmer out, but don't feel discouraged when it seems a little overwhelming. If it doesn't, that's great, that's awesome. You're pretty much a genius and you need to get your PhD. But if so, just reading down the description, they're a master of deception. They use magic and ethereal summons such as illusions to confound, aka confuse, and disorient their enemies. Mesmers then shatter their illusions in the blink of an eye to annihilate their dumbfounded enemies. So they're the same thing. Light armor, necro, and elementalist are, they all share the same armor type. Now, the professional mechanic is based around illusions. And the way illusions work is, as a Mesmer, whenever you do a specific skill that is weapon-based or utility-based, or even trait line based, you can get a clone or a phantasm. And I don't want to get too confusing, but pretty much phantasms, I'll just read it here, are semi-transparent ethereal creations focused on doing damage. They invoke to attack a target with high damage but disappear after performing the special attack. When they disappear, a clone automatically is in place in their location, and there's no limit to the number of phantasms that a Mesmer can evoke at the same time. So how it works is a phantasm, it's a transparent version of your character. It has one attack based on the weapon that you're using, and then when it disappears, it becomes a clone. Now, the way you could tell the difference is a clone is just going to stand there and do the auto attacks of whatever weapon that you're using whenever you summon the clone, and there is a limit to how many clones you can use. Clones are perfect copies of Mesmer whose main function is to confuse enemies who will not be able to differentiate the Mesmer from their clones. Clones only use basic attacks, as I had mentioned, to chain their attack. Their damage and attack speed is very, very limited, meaning they do like 10 damage. So they're not going to do a lot of damage. and they are relatively fragile. So I think they have like 1,000 HP each or something along those lines. They do scale, I believe, to your HP, but really just know that they're really weak. Clones are also created automatically when Phantasm disappears, as I mentioned, or directly with the clone skills. Clones, then again, they last for a long time and they have health. Yeah, anyways, they shatter, right? So what that means for you as a player is that you have a utility bar, the function bar, that has 4 different skill or shatter types. So F1 through F4, you're going to see have these 4 different abilities, and just going over the Mind Rack is the first one. It's going to be more of a damage-based shatter effect. You'll see a lot of Mesmers who are more damage focused try to combo this with some of the attacks in order to maybe burst an enemy down from 100% health to 0% health. So the second one is called Cry of Frustration. This one confuses nearby enemies, so it adds the confusion condition onto enemies whenever you do shatter, and it does a little bit of damage as well. Diversion is a shatter skill that dazes your targets, so it's an interrupt. And then Distortion gives you an invulnerability when you destroy your clones. So you gain an additional second of distortion for each clone that you shatter. Mesmers also enjoy a wide variety of skills which allow them to avoid attacks by either blocking, counterattacking, evading, or using stealth. They are adept at causing confusion to their enemies. So whenever you do confusion or apply confusion to your enemies, whenever they start using auto attacks or any skills, it does damage them. And this does stack intensity. So for example, if you give 10 stacks of confusion onto your enemy and they decide to start just going out, doing all their attacks, then their HP is going to drop significantly and quickly as well. So they're going to end up dying. Versus if you just stack one condition stack, they can freely attack because generally it's not going to kill them. And I just want to say already, first thing is Mesmers, just based on the mechanic, have a very high skill ceiling. There's many different ways that you can play it, but it does require you, it does have a high learning curve too. It requires a little bit more patience to understand how to use specific attacks, and to get down to the nitty gritty where you start to realize that you can use some of your distortions when you're dazed or when you're, not able to do anything else. So understanding that and developing muscle memory in order to be able to use those different skills, as well as maintaining your clones, because another thing is with your clones, you have to be aware of how many you have. You may not want to distort, or sometimes you may want to distort without having a clone or two. So yeah, just play it a little bit. You'll have to realize it because there is a huge difference in damage or survivability depending on how well you manage your clones. And another thing too is if you are using your clones on an enemy and they end up dying, your clones are automatically going to shatter. So in other words, you're going to have to start over from zero if you want to use your clones for some sort of utility purpose. Just letting you guys know kind of what you're getting into whenever you want to use Mesmer. It's not as difficult in some cases. However, just if you want to be really good at the class, well, just first I'm telling you, there's a huge difference from somebody, especially in PvP. I can tell who's good, who's a good Mesmer versus who's a new Mesmer, because it's very difficult for me to figure out between the clones, which one is the real player, whereas the new Mesmers are a little bit easier to detect because they're not able to blend in with their clones as easily. So just some things to pay attention to. I will show you a little bit more down. If you stick around to the video, you will see some gameplay. So listen in and stick around for that. Now you have different skill types. Clone skill type is very unique to Mesmer. This actually allows you to summon clones with a utility skill that target your enemies. You have the glamour skills that are utility skills that create shining fields on the ground, which have helpful effects on allies or harmful on enemies. You have manipulations. These are usually skills that are used to evade attacks. They mislead opponents and redirect forces or simply escape from a deadly situation. Mantras are skills that must be prepared before use and provide the Mesmer and nearby ally with beneficial effects upon doing so. Once prepared, they become a skill with replenishing charges that can be activated in the middle of another action to harm enemies or protect allies. And then your phantasms. You can actually summon phantasms as well as clones with your utilities, and they each have special attacks and disappear once again, leaving behind a clone. Now, the two elite specializations, as I mentioned, you will have Chronomancer, which is even more difficult to understand, just a few more buttons that you have to kind of be aware of, and then your Mirage, which in my opinion, if you're going down the hierarchy of what is easier to play or what is harder to play versus easier, Chronomancer is a little bit more difficult than Mirage and then Core. So with Chronomancer, you do get access to a shield, and that does give you access to wells, which can be placed on the ground and provide positive effects and negative effects to enemies before exploding and creating more powerful effect. And then with Mirage, you have deceptions, just playing more onto that whole being a deceptive magician type class, where your deceptions focus on making the Mirage even more elusive and confounding to enemies. Now, your specializations are going to be your 5 core and your 2 elite. You will have domination, which focuses on interrupting enemies, applies vulnerability, and increases damage, plus enhances your great sword. This is more of a power-based core specialization, but also does have one specific ability where you generate clones on dodge roll. So a lot of people like to use this just for clone generation. Dueling, this one focuses on critical hits. It may increase the Mesmer's elusiveness, and enhances pistol and sword skills. Now, I will have to look. I think domination and dueling, one of those is the ones that has the clone dodge, but once again, focused on critical hits. So it is you will see this used a lot on power builds. Chaos focuses on defense, gaining boons and increasing boon duration, as well as Conti duration. It may enhance staff, trident, and manipulation skills. Chaos is generally more of a survival 1v1 and also a condition, so very hybrid style trait line there. Inspiration is more of the defense / support, enhances your focus, signet, and mantra, as you mentioned, more of the support. And then illusions focus on creating illusions, shattering clones, reduces the recharge of shatters, may also enhance shatter, phantasm, scepter, and torch. Illusions is more for, once again, this one's going to be more of Condi based. It can be used somewhat in power, I believe, as well, but generally most builds right now anyways that use illusions are condition based because, well, Chronomancer exists. So with that being said, Chronomancer focuses on time control. It does provide alacrity, quickness, and slow. As I mentioned, shield and well skills, and then also replaces the shatter skills with the Chronomancer shatters, which includes replacing distortion with Continuum Split. Continuum Split, just to kind of explain, it copies your Mesmer at that specific point in time. So if you use Continuum Split, then you gain access to your skills. You can use all your skills, and then once you go back to your original Mesmer, all those skills recharge. So it provides you double burst, which is why you'll more than likely see Chronomancer being played in raids versus any other class, or PvE for the most part. Mirage focuses on condition damage and elusiveness, gives access to main hand axe, as well as deception skills, replaces dodge with Mirage Cloak, which during ambush skills may be used. So ambush skills is another mechanic that you will have to learn as Mesmer. These are just skills that replace your auto attacks with specific skills that do a little bit more damage or have a little bit more utility. Additionally, they focus on condition damage once again. So Mirage you see more often than not in PvP, if you ever see a Mesmer, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but just know that your dodge roll, you end up getting 1 dodge roll as a Mirage, and that dodge roll gives you a cloak, so you're not really dodging. Now, the benefit of Mirage Cloak is that you can actually use skills while you're covered in this like cloak, so it does provide you a little bit more counterplay in some aspects. The weapons that you can use once again are going to be Great Sword Staff, Axe as a Mirage, Scepter Sword, And then offhand, you can use focus, pistol, shield as a Chronomancer, sword, and torch. Now guys, I'm going to show you a little bit of Chronomancer here. So you're going to look down on my bar, on my function bar. These are unique skills, F1. They're kind of the same as your core Mesmer. Once again, the only difference is you have Continuum Split instead of Distortion. So I just want to show you a little bit of the mechanics. Now, personally, I don't play Mesmer as often as other classes anymore. So you won't see the greatest gameplay. I'm just going to be really transparent with you. But the whole point is not, obviously to show you the best. Hopefully I could show you good enough, but I want to explain a little bit as to what I'm doing. So you see here, I use Continuum Split, and it generates, and before, what I ended up doing, just something, is I precasted my Gravity Well, which is a well skill that you get from Chronomancer. As you see, it stuns the enemy. But at the same time, I use my Continuum Split, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to go back a little bit so we can go over that again. But this is just generally how Chronomancer is going to be played. So, use my Gravity Well. Now, additionally, just so you guys know, I had 3 clones up, and the reason why is whenever you want to use Continuum Split, the more clones you have, the longer your duration is that you are in that continuum phase, right? So then I try to just do like a little burst, not able to land it, and then I go back, right? And you see that Gravity Well right back to where it was, where the skill has reset itself, the mantras then have reset themselves. If I had used more skills, obviously they would reset themselves as well. But yeah, once again, this allows me to kind of just do a lot of damage. It's very bursty if you trade it right. So yeah, pretty much how it works. I end up probably dying here anyways, but just wanted to show you how Chronomancer worked. And one thing I like about Mesmers in general, as you can see I'm on core Mesmer here, is it really does live up to that whole evasiveness ability. So you'll see here I'm fighting a renegade. I'm able to use a lot of different invis skills, and then I'm able to use my distortion, causes the invulnerability there. It's pretty much neck and neck in regards to the damage, but as you see here now, he's going to get a little bit more defensive. His teammate does come in to provide support for him. What ends up happening here is I end up getting a passive stealth, mind you, because I traded it that way. And yeah, from there I just 1200 range away and I can escape. I can also use mass invisibility, which allows me to once again conceal myself in order to avoid damage. So that's one of the biggest benefits of Mesmer, and then I just go in for a burst there. He unknowingly, obviously didn't know that that was going to happen. So those are the kinds of things that happen with Mesmer. I will say right now, generally Mesmer is not really strong. It used to be a lot stronger because the trait lines that, well, before they were nerfed down to the ground, before Mirage was also nerfed down to the ground, they provided a lot of utility. So Mesmer did have a really strong presence in player versus player. Now, like I said, I'll get into the other modes, but player versus player, it has been pretty much negated by everything else that exists. It's still played to this day, but you would probably generally see somebody who is like a hardcore Mesmer fan only play Mesmer, not somebody who's a multi-classer for the most part. Now guys, I don't take it away. I'm gonna say right now that Mesmer is probably, let's go back a little bit just so you can see. Mesmer is not the best class to play right now if you're looking to get into player versus player. That's generally what a lot of people will say, and I kind of agree. I think you have to have an underlying knowledge of, or a baseline foundation of Guild Wars 2 and just the way that the game works in general. But if you do, I think Mesmer's fine. I think anybody can play Mesmer. As you see here, I mean, yes, I'm playing an off meta, or I'm fighting somebody in the off meta that is also running like a Condi warrior, but I didn't really take any damage and ended up killing them. And if you even go forward, he ends up vengeancing. But I'm getting plussed here, right? By 2 other individuals who want to come and fight me. So now it's technically a 3v1, now it's a 2v1. But I mean, I'm still holding my own. I have virtually 1 cooldown left. I'm able to use as many of my abilities. I end up stealthing away, using my distortion, getting a little bit more stealth. So yeah, like, to be fair, guys, you could probably get away with playing Mesmer. It's not gonna be the worst class you could possibly choose right now in today's meta. It is, like I said, it's pretty bad if you are new to the game. There are easier classes. Obviously, Necromancer is one of them that you can just jump in and learn a little bit quicker and not have to be so focused on clone management, things like that. But even just a little bit of clone management, even some knowledge of playing this class and just understanding other mechanics of the game, you can see how it is very beneficial and easy to play. You know, getting 1 kill and then going in for the stomp. So if you guys want to know if Mesmer is good to play in PvE, well, I will tell you right now, just judging by even Gorseval, which is 1 raid boss in all of the Guild Wars 2 raids, let's look at the composition of the best type of group that you can bring. And as you see, you have 1 healing tank, about 7 Chronomancers, and a Power Banner, and an Alacrity Renegade. So, I mean, if you ever had any concerns coming into Guild Wars 2, should you play Mesmer? Well, there's your answer, you guys. I'm pretty sure somebody is going to find a Mesmer out there that is going to, you know, you're going to find a place. That's not the only boss. I mean, there's at least 1 Chronomancer, 1 condition Mesmer, and every single one of these. Keep Construct once again, Zera once again. Even right here, right? 10-man quickness, you can... So, have no fear. You're gonna find a place in today's meta for most of raids. In fact, as you see there, there's more. There's an underlying theme, whereas there are certain classes that just don't exist in raid metas. But Mesmer is definitely not one of them. And we'll go to my favorite site, obviously Meta Battle. I like to look at some of the builds and what the community also thinks. This is a really good website, finding just cookie cutter builds. You can obviously, these are generally true and tried, so people have tried them. But obviously, if you have a different style of play, you know, change whatever you want. I am definitely a firm believer and advocate of making your own build. That's what I love about Guild Wars 2 so much. But once again, if you need a foundation, they're here. And if you just want to see if the class that you want to play is viable, for example, open world, these badges just reflect, you know, obviously with a legendary badge, meaning it's great. A platinum badge meaning it's pretty good, and then a gold badge meaning it's mediocre or okay. Anything lower than that, then it just doesn't even get on this list. So you see here, Raid and Strike, once again, Mirage and Chronomancer is going to be your best bet, and then once again, Mirage and Chronomancer is going to be pretty good in World vs. World. World vs. World has different rules to it, so yes, Mesmer is really strong in World vs. World as a support and also as a roamer. Having said, guys, if you are new to Guild Wars 2 and you don't have the expansion, then Mirage and Mesmer is just not going to be for you. I'm sorry. You're going to have a very difficult time finding any place in the game on in-game content, unless you just would like to roleplay a little bit or even just do more open world stuff or story. If that's your niche, then by all means play Mesmer. But if you wanted to get into raids or you wanting to do a little bit more with your class, you will have to get the expansion. Fortunately, if you want any of the expansions or if you just want the free-to-play version of the game, links are down below in my description. It does help out the channel a lot, and so I really appreciate it. If you are looking and you found this information useful, just go ahead and use one of those links to get yourself a copy of the expansion or the free version of the game. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed today's monologue of, Mesmer. And thank you for sticking around with this whole episode thing. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I'm glad that many of you actually came to stick around for that. But yeah, throughout the following weeks, we're going to get a lot more creative with the content with Guild Wars 2. And then from there, we'll see where it takes us. But yes, I hope to see you guys in the next video. And also, You'll probably know that today, since I post on Thursday, I will be streaming. So if you see this video anytime between the hours of 7 or 8 p.m. Central Time, you could probably find me on my Twitch. Link's going to be down below. Take care.